My children didn't want to spend time with my parents for Christmas because they were farmers. They mocked them for being poor. But once they learned the truth, it was already too late. Welcome to the very first video of Nat Narrate. I'm Nat. I started this channel because, like you, I am absolutely obsessed with the wildest confessions on the internet. This channel is going to be your daily dose of messy family drama, shocking betrayals, and the most satisfying karma you have ever heard. If you live for the tea, you are in the right place. Today's story is a perfect example. It involves a lottery win, entitled children, and a $10.5 million secret that destroyed a family. Let's get into it. I never thought I would be writing this. I never thought I would be the mother who writes a younger generation out of her will. But this Christmas, something inside me finally broke. To understand why, you have to understand the players in this drama. I come from dirt. Literally. My parents, Arthur and Rose, owned the Miller homestead in rural Ohio. It's a massive operation, 200 acres of corn and soybeans, plus a herd of 50 beef cattle. It's real work. My dad is 78 and still wakes up at 4 in the morning to feed the stock. My mom is 75 and still cans her own vegetables. They aren't poor, land is wealth, but they are cash poor. They drive a 20-year-old truck. Their house needs new siding, and yes, if the wind blows the wrong way, the porch smells like manure. Then there is my husband Greg's side of the family. His parents, Helen and Bob, are the complete opposite. They are retired suburbanites. They care about appearances. They care about what the neighbors think. They always turned their noses up at my parents, making little comments about how quaint and dirty the farm life must be. Okay, pausing here. We all know people like Helen and Bob, right? The type of people who think they're better than everyone else just because they don't have dirt under their fingernails. It drives me crazy. And honestly, the husband, Greg, isn't doing much to stop it. But anyway, let's meet the children because this is where it gets messy. I love my children, but I have failed them. David is 28. He works in luxury car sales in the city. He rents a high-rise apartment he barely affords and drives a leased BMW to look the part. Sarah is 22. She's a senior in college, studying fashion marketing. She lives in a sorority house that costs a fortune, and she treats my credit card like it's a bottomless pit. And Michael is 16. He spends most of his time gaming on a $3,000 PC setup. For years, Christmas meant one thing: the farm. It was humble. It was real. But 4 years ago, the dynamic shattered. Greg's parents, Helen and Bob, won a regional lottery. After taxes, they walked away with a little over $5 million. Suddenly, Christmas wasn't about the farm anymore. The first year, they rented a villa in Italy. They flew everyone out. David, Sarah, and Michael were mesmerized. Why would they want to wake up early to feed cows with Grandpa Arthur when they could be eating gelato on a yacht with Grandpa Bob? My children changed. David stopped calling them because Grandpa just talks about corn prices. Sarah stopped visiting because the farm has no cell service. My parents spent 3 Christmases alone. They never complained, but I saw the light go out in their eyes. That brings us to this year. I decided enough was enough. In November, I sat my family down. I told them firmly, this year we are not going on a trip. We are going to the farm for Christmas Eve dinner. The reaction was immediate and cruel. David laughed and said, "Mom, be serious. Jessica refuses to go there. The mud ruins her heels." Then Sarah chimed in, "Yeah, Mom, I need content for my Instagram. A muddy farm isn't exactly the vibe. Besides, Grandma Helen promised to pay off my student loans. What can Grandpa Arthur offer me? A bag of corn?" Wow, a bag of corn? That is absolutely brutal. Imagine saying that about the people who loved you since you were a baby. But as they say, karma has a funny way of working out. Back to the story. I was furious. I told them to go to New York. I told them to chase the money. I drove to the farm alone. I spent Christmas with my parents. We ate ham sandwiches and laughed, but I saw the pile of gifts my mom had wrapped for the kids sitting in the corner. Cash inside cards, $50 each. It wasn't thousands, but it was everything they had to spare. 2 days after New Year's, the bubble burst. The investment fund that Greg's parents had put their remaining $3 million into collapsed. It was a Ponzi scam. The assets were frozen. And because Helen and Bob had leveraged their own home to buy more into the fund, the bank called the loan. Overnight, the rich grandparents were destitute. You would think this would humble the kids, but it didn't. In February, when I asked David to come help Grandpa Arthur fix the barn roof after a storm, David sneered. He said, "Mom, I'm not a laborer. I sell luxury cars. I don't touch hammers." He's broke, his rich grandparents are broke, and he still won't help his grandpa fix a roof. The audacity is actually impressive. But don't worry, guys, the tables are about to turn in the best way possible. It wasn't until early April, just last week, that everything changed. I was at the farm helping my mom. A black SUV pulled up. A commercial developer stepped out. He told us that Amazon was building a massive logistics hub right next door, and they needed my parents' 200 acres. My dad didn't want to sell, but the developer made an offer that made my jaw drop. $10.5 million. Cash. My dad sat on the porch looking at his fields. He said, 10 million. That could pay for David's wedding. That could pay for Sarah's college. Then he took a sip of iced tea and said, "But they're not here, are they? They haven't been here in 3 years." He signed the deal. I went home and waited. Then David saw the news article on his phone. Local farm sold for record 10.5 million. The screaming started immediately. Sarah was jumping up and down. Greg was crying tears of joy. "We're saved. Grandpa was sitting on a gold mine. Let's go help him pack." They grabbed their keys, but I sat at the kitchen table and said loudly, "You can't go." I pulled out a copy of the trust fund document my dad had drawn up the day he sold the land. Clause 4, I read, "No direct descendant shall receive any portion of the trust or cash disbursements if they have not physically visited the Miller homestead at least 3 times in the preceding 24 months. Sarah's face went white. She said, "But we haven't been there." "I know, and the farm is sold. You can't visit now. The clock has run out." They drove out there anyway. They found a locked gate and a construction crew. My parents are already in Florida, sipping margaritas on a balcony overlooking the ocean. My children are finally learning what it means to work for a living. Sarah is applying for jobs at the mall. David is selling his BMW. And Greg, he's finally realizing that money doesn't make you a man. Loyalty does. Wow, talk about poetic justice. Clause 4 is probably my favorite thing I've read all year. It's tough love, but sometimes that's all that works. But I want to know what you guys think. Did Martha go too far by not warning them? Should she give some of her share to the children? Or do they deserve to struggle for a bit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this first episode of Nat Narrate, please smash that like button and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with another story that you do not want to miss. Thanks for watching.